Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Objective. And we've got a topic today that is pretty interesting. It's about ideas and it's also about politics. There's a little something for everyone. It's about the culture, really, I think. There was a pornographic actress who was invited to attend a conservative event as sort of a VIP, but was then uninvited. And this is obviously going to, as you would expect, it sparked a big discussion among people on the right, Republicans, conservatives, whoever, however you would categorize them. What do we stand for? They're asking. Are we social conservatives? Are we Christians? Should we include pornographic business people, or should we call them degenerates and say they're welcome to vote for our candidates, but their values are not going to be reflected in our platforms? Similar questions arise with regards to the transgender people or various other kind of alternative lifestyle crowds that are maybe sympathetic to a lot of the Republican platform. People on the right, people that are conservative or Republican, are asking, should these people's values be reflected in the party, or should they be told, no, your values will not be included here. You are not welcome to speak at our events or to appear as a VIP at our events. Those are the questions that are coming up. So let me ask the audience a question, and you can think about this. You can give me your answer, give us your answer in the chat if you like, or you can just think about it, and we'll circle back to this question in the duration of the discussion. But let me ask you a question. If you had to answer this, what's the one political group, what's the one crowd in American politics that openly tends to say, separate politics from morality? Separate politics from morality. The two don't need to mix. Think about that. What is your answer? Who's the one group that tends to speak that way? And we'll get back to it, Nikos. Please relax. Let me introduce you. Let's talk about this topic, and we'll get back to what you think the answer is. Okay. Please welcome a guy here. This guy, politics, culture, ideas, political movements. This guy lives and breathes this stuff, but unfortunately, he told me he just got home and doesn't have much to contribute today. So I guess we'll still see what he's got. Please welcome Nikos Sotirakopoulos.
Thank you. So I don't even know exactly what's the title that the Lord Emperor went with, but my title would be Conservatives Discover the Freedom of Association. Now, I should say rediscover. Now, conservatives used to be the party of freedom of association. Remember the bake the cake story. A gay couple shows up to a Christian baker. The Christian baker says, sorry, I don't want to serve you because of my morality. And basically we jumped and said, yeah, the baker is right. We don't share his morality, but his property, his rights, end of story. Then at some point, conservatives lost that, because for conservatives, bake the cake doesn't apply to things like Twitter, for example. Twitter has to bake the cake, which means has to show the tweets of President Trump or of Milo or whoever, whether they want it or not. And now, when the conservatives do what they have the right to do, which is to say to someone, look, we don't like you for some particular reason. I would say for any reason. I mean, the ideal, the archetype of freedom could be a conference where you don't invite everyone. I'm having a conference and I'm excluding everyone for any possible reason. But why is this now such a weird thing? Because conservatives, lacking depth or essence or values or whatever, they have pictured themselves as the anti-cancel culture. Now, of course, they cannot get as deep to understand terms such as free speech. Or so they have these vague ideas like cancel culture. And of course, what they did was quote canceling, which is they said to someone, look, we don't want you. This is a private space. You are disinvited. So on the surface, there's nothing wrong there, but there's a lot of things going on there. And this is a hole that conservatives have digged themselves in. Again, because for them, the culture wars are so essential. The more and more they move away from principles, the more and more they move away from defending freedom on principles, the more and more they move away from defending, let's say, capitalism. Now they found themselves in the corner of the culture wars. The culture wars are their bread and butter. And in terms of the culture wars, it makes sense to flex to their audience and say, see, we are good Christians, because what else have we got to separate us from the other side? We're good Christians. And here, porno star has no place here. Mm-hmm. Of course, if they were a bit more clever, they would say, okay, here's a business, not even a business. Here's how it's called, an ecosystem, which is, let's say, the West Coast entertainment, where we basically have nothing and the left is completely dominating. One person resists this group thing, and what do? We say, we don't want you, leave. So there's so many issues you could touch this.
There's a lot happening.
Yeah.
There's a lot happening. Real quick note: CJ in the chat says that he believes this porn star was not actually invited. She just bought a VIP pass, as anybody could. So if that's true, I stand corrected. I apologize. My goal here, our goal is not to bring you the news, but rather to discuss kind of what we're seeing taking place. So to me, the discussion that this has sparked, that I see on Twitter, this is interesting to me. And even more, so you're focused on the whole cancel culture element. So like, oh, all you conservatives, you said stop canceling people, but now you're uninviting someone from your event. But couldn't they answer you? They could say, this is not, we're having a niche event here. It's for conservatives. We're not telling this porn star she may not appear anywhere or she may not be a VIP anywhere. This is a niche event. And I know you're gonna say, well, what about Twitter? They would say, look, Twitter and Facebook and social media, they're so big, they should basically be treated like a public street, So the turning point people would probably say, look, we understand we're generally private property, free market people, but at the top, when it comes to really big platforms, we need to treat those with a different set of rules, because someone getting banned from Twitter and banned from YouTube and banned from Facebook is basically like being told you cannot live in the city. You may not live among other people. That's how they would answer that. So on a small scale, yes, freedom of association. The baker in his small shop or the particular conservative event, they would say, yes, absolutely, freedom of association. But at the big, on a big, when it comes to big platforms, there we need to stand opposed to cancel culture in our values, but also possibly the government should protect the canceled from being deplatformed.
Okay,
and you
two
say
things. First, disinviting a speaker would be one thing. Telling someone, no, you can't even attend, is even worse. It's basically saying, I don't even know what it's saying. For me, that's just a gesture. So what? Is it going to be that people would see her and say, Mommy, who is that person? Oh, is that person who is selling dildos or whatever? Oh my God, I can't believe, why did you bring me here? So it's not that she would have like a stand with a screen projecting like porn or whatever she's doing. But the most important thing is what you said. So you will notice that with the left, because they are completely incapable of thinking in principles, you ask them, is coercion wrong when we talk about the drug laws? And they're going to say, yes, coercion is wrong. Is coercion wrong when it comes to what two men, for example, do in their bedroom? Yes, of course, freedom, they should do whatever they want in the bedroom. And then you tell them, shall we expand this also in what they do in the boardroom? Let's say in a business. Oh, no, this is different. Why is this different? Because, and they give you some, quote, practical reason. And you see the conservatives doing the same thing. Oh, Twitter is different. Why is it different? Oh, because it's bigger. Exactly the same thing what the left says. The left says, you doing something with your boyfriend in the bedroom, that's one thing. But now you're a big company, you have power. We cannot let you do whatever you want. So it's a bit sad. So we could take the humor side, they said to the porter. But here's something, I think it's something important. And again, I've said it 1 million times, I'll say it again. Conservatives are created today for the culture wars. It's their only ground where they can flourish, because it's a ground that only requires gesturing and indignation. It doesn't require essence, which they lack. It doesn't require hard principles, which they lack. It doesn't require having a coherent worldview on how to support freedom, which of course they lack. So it's the bread and butter. It's the only outlet they have left. How are we different from the left? Well, the left are the people who are bringing drag queens to your school. We are the people who are excluding porn stars from our conference. And if we have some time later, Rucka, I want also to mention how this marriage between conservatism and religion is not as old as many people would think. Actually, it's an issue of the last 4 or 5 decades, and it's not as a marriage that is natural as people would expect. But we can get to that in a second.
All right, a couple super chats. Sammy is bored again. Thank you. CJ says, funny how not a single speaker at CPAC Uncanceled has ever been canceled from any big tech platforms except Trump. Almost like they're all grifters. Okay, a bit of a cynical take there, but yeah, I mean, it's true. So someone like Milo Yiannopoulos, he was banned from everything, right? But not everything, actually. He's still on YouTube. But he was banned from Twitter and Facebook, and conservatives say, well, stop canceling, cancel culture. But will they invite Milo? Will they invite controversial people to speak at their event? No, because it's, property rights for me, but not for thee, or it's discrimination rights, basically. And I don't mean that word like in a, like racial discrimination. I just generally, you discriminate who you allow in your home, you discriminate who you sleep with. So it's discrimination rights for me, but not for thee. That seems to be the message we get from people on the right these days, that because Twitter and the big tech is so big, they basically need to be treated like a public street that anyone can walk on. But to me, what's interesting about all of this to me is not so much like the hypocrisy of people on the right, but it really is that it raises the question of that conservatives are asking is, should we include porn stars that agree with our economics or our general immigration policy? Like, should we include porn stars? And that's the question that people are raising and arguing about. There's definitely the side of the conservative tent that says, hey, be socially liberal, basically. Don't tell people, don't die on the hill of those issues. But the other people are saying, no, we're conservatives, we're religious, we believe in social order. So let me ask you, Nikos, you raised your hand earlier. Let me ask the question again. Who would you say is the one group in American politics that says divorce morality from politics? The two don't need to mix.
I would say libertarians, because they do it openly. They celebrate it to the point where I feel uncomfortable. Because again, what do we mean by morality? So I want morality in politics, which would mean respect individual rights. And then you can condemn whatever else you want. But if by politics we mean the use of force, then you can do immoral things, such as, destroy yourself, but the state should not have the role. So I don't even know what people mean when they say mix morality with politics, but I'm very curious, what's the answer?
I was thinking as well of libertarians, and I was sort of fishing for people watching to say, "Ooh, objectivists, right? Objectivists." They thought maybe that's what I was going for. But now objectivism definitely has a theory of politics, what government should do. The government should not be legislating morality, in my understanding. Politicians should not be saying this is moral, so you may do this. This is immoral, you may not do that. The government's job is to abstract force from human affairs. But how you arrive at that, I think, comes through the channel of ethicists, of philosophers who recognize, okay, here's human nature. Here's what man requires in order to live as a human being. And then politics creates an environment that allows that type of existence of people amongst one another. So definitely morality plays a role in arriving at the theory of politics. But, libertarians, of course, they're way too impatient to go through that process. Libertarians are just saying, forget morality completely. Just have complete liberty, and the market will basically solve our problems. And this is not this. So, and this is supposed to inspire people, by the way. So libertarianism is supposed to inspire people. They see themselves, libertarians, they see themselves as like the founding fathers of America. The founding fathers, they were definitely deep thinkers. They definitely had a lot to say about the nature of man. They were definitely Enlightenment thinkers. They were not these materialistic kind of I don't know, what sort of hedonists or something like you see Generally they were not. You don't see, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't see people like Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin saying divorce morality from government. You don't see that type of talk, but you do see that from libertarians today when they're responding to Christian conservatives. So Christian conservatives are saying, yeah, get the porn stars out of our conference. We are not libertarians. And libertarians are saying, hey, come on, put morality aside. Morality has nothing to do with having economic, free markets and property rights and all that stuff. So
help me also understand something though. So in my view of porn, I'm probably on the right within objectivity. So I'm not too enthusiastic about the industry. Sorry, not about the industry. So you know how usually when I was growing up, people would say, be lenient to drug user, but punish the drug traders. With porn, I'm a bit on the opposite side. I think personally, okay, and this is not ARC UK, this is not objective. Personally, I'm not super excited about what its impact might be on someone. Having said that, the people in the industry, I expect they're in a way, quote, entrepreneurs of the self. They make a product of themselves. They do something which I guess is not easy. So what would be the right answer? So even if you, let's say, oppose porn because whatever, I'm not entirely sure why Christians oppose, but I assume they have the reasons. What should be your take on someone who works in the industry? Of someone who even, quote, cynically says, yeah, I understand this industry is bad for men and for women. Interestingly, feminists rightly maybe believe that porn is degrading. The red pill, MGTOWs, whatever, maybe rightly say porn is destroying men and their testosterone or whatever. So everyone kind of agrees with that. But what should be your take on the people who work in that industry?
What should be your take as what? A conservative, an objective?
Let's say you condemn porn. Do you also condemn people who work in porn?
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. And I mean, there's a lot to say about porn. I'm not making fun of conservatives today. I'm not saying like, haha, they're so prude. I mean, I definitely can see why a movement that is focused on values says we don't want porn stars at our conference. I can imagine at some point, sooner or later, a hardcore porn actor will appear in the objectivist circles, and it'll be on like objectivist philosopher, like people that are influential in the movement, to ask like, do we want to be associated with someone like this when their attitude towards sex in the public is antithetic to objectivism's view of sex? So there's definitely I mean, I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but I mean, these questions do come up, and I definitely can see where conservatives are coming from. So unlike libertarians, I am sympathetic to what conservatives are doing. But that's what I find so interesting about this. I don't actually know the answer where conservatives should draw the line, or where anybody should draw the line. But yeah, I mean, I guess I would say if you're opposed to porn, you probably don't want to associate with pornographers, right? Or you condemn them, and you don't have to hate them. I mean, it doesn't have to be extreme condemnation, but you can strongly disapprove of what they're doing, right?
Yeah, but again, so for example, would you do the same with people who consume porn? Because, okay, I don't know, but then
I mean, this is what makes the topic so rich. I mean, let he who is without FAP cast the first stone, right? Like, so if you are hostile to pornographers and you condemn them and you disassociate with them, can we go through your browsing history? I mean, some people would say yes, absolutely, and they would say look under my bed and look at my computer, and I'm practicing what I preach. But the sort of ongoing kind of a discourse surrounding porn has been, people are saying like, oh really, so you don't indulge in it? And you look at Utah, like a place like Utah, Mormon country, it's got like the highest consumption of deviant porn, like crazy, like unusual type of pornography. So,
and also, what if it's, let's say, someone which is one of these productions where they actually celebrate lovemaking? It's nice setting, it's passionate and all that stuff. So that's why I said that my suspicion is that, and again, knowing Turning Point, and knowing how Turning Point, in a way, I've called on Twitter the UK turning point, social justice warriors of the right, because they said the other day, English players should not be allowed, notice, allowed to play for the team if they kneel. Allowed. Who are you to say who is allowed? So knowing these things about TP, the turning point movement, that's why my initial reaction was to say, this is part of gesturing. This is not to take away all the very good comments you make, which is, okay, what is the moral status of porn? Different people are going to give different answers. It's not super clear, morally moral and all that stuff. I hope we all agree, I'm definitely, me and you agree, it should be legal. Now, who should have access to it? For example, how, kids should not have access to it and all that stuff. Is it parents' responsibility? Is it provider's responsibility? We have difficult questions, but again, I wouldn't be surprised. I would bet my money that knowing conservatives and their lack of deep principles, for me, this looks more like a gesture. And also, while we're at the topic, did they really, for example, show the same scrutiny with God Emperor Trump and his personal life? So I don't know,
because Trump wasn't really Lord Emperor in the big picture. Like, they joked about that, they loved him, but today you can see people on the right, Republicans, the sort of new right people, the Trumpian types. They're saying, yeah, now watching Trump speak is like watching a washed up band go on a reunion tour. They're ready to move on. They're ready to move on. This was always bigger than Trump. This was never about Trump as an end goal. Maybe to some people it was, but the big picture, this new right, what Trump created is bigger than himself. So yeah, the fact that they were willing to overlook the fact that Trump is a womanizer and a vulgar person, because they know he's basically divorcing the Republican Party from what it used to be, or what it attempted to be, and making it like completely unprincipled, anti-individualistic, anti-founding principles, completely up for grabs by the next populist wannabe authoritarian. Obviously that's my kind of dramatic reading of the situation. And I'm seeing people, sort of Trumpians, we've been seeing them for years saying, yeah, big, small government, that's just a libertarian talking point. We're not about small government. We're not about individual rights. We are for order and stuff like that. Razi's sending statistics over. He says Trump got 70% in the CPAC 2024 straw poll. Okay, well, CPAC is not even in the entire picture, is it?
I remember Ron Paul used to win every CPAC, and back then I thought, wow.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. And a lot of these Ron Paulers are today's Trumpers. You would think, oh, Ron Paul, he's such a small government individualist. Well, he was a disruptor. He was an anti-establishment guy, and his fickle, disruptive fans that used to shout at every debate. Now, a lot of them became Trump fans, and a lot of them are ready to move on past Trump. So, Razi, I would invite you to join us on the show if you have so much to contribute. Respectfully, sir.
Well, he just gave us a statistic.
Thank you. Regards to like pornography, Ayn Rand gave an interview to Playboy magazine, so obviously she approved enough of Playboy. I would imagine she saw it as like a celebration of the human body with the nudity. But on the flip side, when it came to hardcore porn, people having sex on camera, she thought it was abhorrent. There's a lot of people, a lot of good people, a lot of rational people that they disapprove of the cheapening of sex. And, I'm not here to make fun of them. I'm not here to say like, haha, they're so prude and uptight. There's definitely something to explore there. And I can definitely see where a movement that is based on values would be facing difficult questions like who to include in the movement or who to invite to the event and stuff like that. These questions do come up.
So shameless speech. If you want in 3 pages to see how the Republican Party got tied up with religion, in my book, I have a section called The New Right, not the New Right today, the New Right like Reagan New Right, the New Right and religion. So it's about how it was, let's say, a follow-up. It was a reaction to the hippie culture of the 60s and the counterculture. So notice, again, and again, the conservative movement in a way gets its marching orders from the left. The left does something, conservatives react. The left does something else, conservatives react on something else. And how good is this for the Conservative Party? I would say not good, particularly if you don't have an agenda. Particularly if you say, as far as I'm opposed to the left, anything goes. As Don Watkins mentioned on Twitter, the last time this happened in a big scale, hint, hint, the 30s, it didn't end well. So don't betray freedom just to stick it to the left. And don't betray freedom just to own the libs. And again, the morality of pornography is a deeper discussion. And I would agree with you that it's not so simple. Okay, so have we got any more super chats, or shall I do some announcements?
No super chats, but we do have the ARC UK shop. It is up now at ARCUK, I'm guessing .co.uk. Is that it? Link in the chat room either way and in the description. Yes, it is .co.uk/shop. So a link in the chat room again. Please go buy something for good God's sake. This is how our economy works, folks.
And one more thing for our members. So for me, the most important perk of being a member, besides helping, is the communication bootcamp with Don Watkins. Now, how seriously I take it is I submitted a written piece of work for John to, for one whole session to dissect it and edit it, and it helped me so much that now I have a new version, which is better. But this Thursday, the communication bootcamp will be me doing one of my quote solo episodes and Don giving feedback. So it will be feedback on oral presentation and oral presentation addressed to a big audience, which is not there. So communication bootcamp, whether it is for writing, speaking, I think 2 weeks or something from now, we're going to have a special session on Twitter, how to write tweets, how to be noticed on Twitter. My Twitter is perhaps really, really bad. If you think how many things I do and how many are my Twitter followers, I'm doing something wrong on Twitter. So we become better from being mentored by someone, a communication expert like Don, and this is open to members. So if you're a member, you can say, okay, 2 weeks from now, I submit something, a talk or an article, and Don goes through it in a session, and we all contribute and stuff. So another reason why you should become a member to Ayn Rand Center UK, and the link is you'll find it in all the YouTube Ayn Rand Center, AynRandCenter.co.uk/membership. Yes. AynRandCenter.co.uk/membership. That was all from me. Anything all from you, Rucka?
No, let's jump over to Clubhouse, and no debate today. Usually Yaron Brook would be debating somebody on Tuesday, but he's very busy traveling. We're looking forward to getting him back on the channel as soon as possible. Until then, see you back here tomorrow, same time for the Daily Objective. See you on Clubhouse in a minute, and goodbye.